Hello goblins, it's Chris, Eldritch Pipes. It's an episode of this week's Pipes. I'm smoking H.H. Acadian Perique. Lovely tobacco. Not easily got hold of here in the UK. In fact, we can't get it in the UK. I don't know why. Why can we get some HH blends and not others? I don't understand the intricacies of tobacco licensing. Doesn't seem to make any sense to me. Surely if we get one, we should have them all. But I think the only ones we can get hold of are Bold Kentucky. Maybe the Virginia Flake. Something like that. Oh no, it's not Bold Kentucky. It's Old Dark Fired. We can get hold of the Old Dark Fired. We can't get hold of the Bold Kentucky. We used to be able to quite easily, but not for a little while. And certainly not the Birdie Flake. We never saw that here, which was a shame because I remember that being a good one. I think I picked some up when I was in Chicago. It's a good blend. I think we can get the Navy cut. It's a funny old game. I should say, a couple of people have written to me about tobacco, and I'm sorry I haven't got back to you. I hope you guys watch this video as well. I'm a little snowed under. I'm trying to catch up with my correspondence. I will get there in the end, so just a little patience and I'll be with you. You know who you are. News on the vintage pigment line. So recently I've been turning down orders for the vintage line, and if you've been watching these videos you know why. The pigment supplier went out of business, but obviously I've kept going with trying to find out who supplied them. They didn't have a chemist, they didn't create their own pigments, they sourced them from somewhere else. We had thought it was probably China, but it may not have been. We've been talking to a UK pigment maker, and we know that they supplied, I nearly said who it was, we know that they supplied that company at some point in time, but we're not sure when, and did they originate in these pigments that I need. So we're going to be compiling some pigment samples, some of my precious samples, precious pigment supply that I've got left, to send them some samples. Well, we're sending them some photos first, but it's probably going to come to needing to send them samples. And we'll see. Obviously there's a lot riding on being successful. I'm not holding my breath, but I am crossing my fingers. I finished watching Red Rose, which is a Netflix series, and I've really enjoyed it, all bar the final episode. It's an 8-episode thing, and it's a good story. Characters are great, the actors are great. The way the story culminated, I know that this is like the Achilles heel of a lot of stories. It's how to land the storyline. And I wasn't convinced, to be honest, how it all ended up. And it missed out a few things that I wanted to see, I was expecting to see. So, have mixed feelings at the end. But episodes 1 to 7, really enjoyable. Really good. Alright, let's have a look at some pipes. We've got this the right way around. Tis an acorn. You'll be familiar with this shape. Full saddle stem. I'll talk about the stem in a moment. In a chocolate and orange contrast. Which is a nice way to sort of highlight the grain. Doing a contrast blast it's quite an interesting process because you're staining in the dark colour and then blasting back just enough that the soft grain can, you're blasting back the soft grain while hoping that the tight grain holds on to the pigment long enough to give you that contrast. And it's a game of staining, blasting, getting it wrong, staining again, blasting again. Because as much as possible you want a kind of an even look over the whole pipe. Unless you're going for a specific effect, like the fumier or some kind of fade stain, which is also possible with a sandblast. It's the amber flame, but I just wanted to highlight the pattern that came up on this one because it's kind of unusual. Look at that. It really did come up like a flame. Even maybe a series of flames, which I thought was what's the word? Serendipitous with the name Amber Flame. I mean, obviously the reason that I called it Amber Flame was because the colours were really evocative of that. But in this particular stem piece, it really does look, and that's more like a spiralling flame. So yeah, pretty cool. If you were watching last week, you will have seen an acorn in a sandblast, cordovan stain, which is a dark brown, darker than chocolate. Chocolate has like a reddish tinge to it. Cordovan does too, but only when you sort of like knock it back a bit in its sort of full state. The reddishness doesn't come through so much. It also had an earth and ivory stem, and it got enough attention that I needed to make another one for a chat. So that's this guy. So you can sort of see it just barely has a kind of redness to the brown, but it's really dark, quite neutral in a lot of ways. Which is why it really works with the earth and ivory, because the The brown of the earth and ivory is not a red brown. It is an earthy, neutral, or even slightly yellowish brown. So here we go. The one little feature about this is some plateau crept onto the rim on this fellow. I've been getting kind of like semi-rugged blasts of late, which is very interesting. Sometimes they come out just like lightly textured, but recently a bit more rugged. And that's the earth and ivory. The earth and ivory being the last man standing in the vintage range, because it's not based on any of the colours from that company. So that's the one I can still do, which is kind of fortunate because at the moment the earth and ivory is my favourite, I would say. I guess my favourites change. Obviously it was the amber flame when I first created that. I was put amber flame on everything. And then the Yeti Blizzard. I really love the Yeti Blizzard. The blue on the Yeti Blizzard, so deep that it's wonderful. But then the earth and ivory, it's such a detailed material. I don't know how come it just behaves in its own way. You do find that certain colours, for whatever reason, maybe it's the minerals that the pigment's made out of, who knows, but some colours just behave in a unique way. When I do the Cumberland range, the white, the black and white, I couldn't even really call it black and white Cumberland. I had to call it smoke Cumberland, because all the other Cumberlands, you tend to get a variance of detail that can go from fine and wispy and smoky to broad details. But in the smoke, the way that the black and white, what can you say, work together, it's always lots and lots of really fine detail. You never get broad details in it, or at least I've never come across a piece that has sort of broad details in it. This was the final piece for this week. This was available from Friday if you followed the Instagram, eldritch.pipes on Instagram. But it has gone now. Well, I should say, before I reveal this, I'm recording this video on Saturday the 18th, but the internet on our street appears to have gone down. I've got a feeling I'm not going to be able to upload this until Sunday. I'm still going to put the 18th on the date of this video, but I've got a feeling that most of you aren't going to see this until Sunday. We'll see. Maybe it'll come back on later today. Anyway. It is a Zulu. I was looking for a shape that I hadn't made in a little while, and it's been a while since I made a Zulu. I can't remember the last one I made, but I really wanted to. The piece of ultraviolet wave that I've got, in fact I'm going to need to cast some more pretty soon, is just really cool. Just loads of sort of liquid dynamic swirls going on. And I love the Zulu shape. It's just really, every time, nothing comes natural to me about creating the Zulu. It's just a lot of concentration to try and get the shape right. It's a tighter bend on the upper line, and then a much looser curve on the bottom. I think I've often said before that I think of it as somewhere between a billiard and a horn. And it is somewhere between there, but I don't exactly know where. The oval shank is always, I always find it challenging. And in that sense, keeps me on my toes. So there's no sort of automated way of doing it. You can't turn an oval. Well, you can turn an oval on a lathe, but that's not a straightforward thing to do neither. So you just do it by hand, and you hope and pray as you're doing it that you don't mess it up. And I'm still like that. Maybe I should just make a lot more so I'm more at ease with them, but still. This guy I did with a plateau rim. Kind of nice and gnarly. And again, a kind of rugged blast. You can see the ring grain coming out there, and you can see the straight grain. But really, it's kind of about just the ruggedness of the piece. And if there's a more striking match than ultraviolet and black, I don't know what it is, because it kind of sings to me. I can maybe imagine putting ultraviolet on a natural briar. That might work, but I always just want to see a black blast with the ultraviolet. All right. There we go. Oh, there's a couple of you who have received your pipes recently that have responded to me as well, and I will get back to you guys as well pretty soon. I just need to catch a moment, and I'll respond. You've been saying lovely things, and that's really nice. And I just want you to know that I've heard it and appreciate it. All right, that's it for this week. I will be back next week. That's the plan. So until then, take it very easy. A loyal pipe maker.